So in this video, I'm going to try to illustrate to you OSPF LSA in action, show you how router LSAs change as we change the topology from a single area to multi-area, see how network LSAs change as we change the network type between the transit areas, and then illustrate where the summary when do the summary LSAs come on, show up with an ABR with multi areas, and then how ASBRs generate type 4s, and then type 5s, and then finally NSSA, not so stubby areas, in this simple topology of 5 routers. Router 1, 2, 3, 4 connected to each other with the transit links 12, 23, and 34. Each has a loopback with a /32, and that's how the OSPF gets its router ID. That's all pre-configured. What we're going to configure is area 0 first, and then make it in a multi-area, and then look at the externals and NSSA topology. So let's get in action. We're first going to configure area 0, excluding the loopbacks, just like this. So to do that, we're going to go in each router and configure router OSPF 1 and then enable area 0 on each of one of these. I've pre-configured the transit to be IP OSPF network point-to-point, and I'll show you that. To get into these 4 routers, I'm using MobaX term. Lets me do a multi-terminal execution. So I'm going to go to all of these routers, do a config T, router OSPF 1. That enables routing, OSPF routing, and then I am just going to exit the execution, multi-terminal execution on each one of them, and now I'm going to go individually. So now on router 1, I'm going to enable OSPF area 1. When I do this on do show run interface E12, sorry, it's got a pre-configured command of point-to-point. So it's, if all of these have point-to-point configured, it's not going to generate the network LSA. And we'll see how that in action as well. But let's get the routers up with area 0 with transit link point-to-point. So let's go to Ethernet 1, 2, IP OSPF network, IP OSPF 1, area 0, for router 1, interface E12, and then do the same for all of them. Moving on to 2, interface E13. See how quickly it came up with point-to-point. With DR, BDR election, it takes a minute. We're done with 2 on, now let's move on to 3. Done with 3, let's move on to 4. Area 0, OSPF 1, area 0. So we're done with all the OSPF configuration, and this topology is complete. So let's look at the database now. We can do multi-execution just to look at the database. Control-C to get out of the config mode, and then do show IP OSPF database. And you're going to see we see 4 routers, and that's your first router LSA. Each one of them is generating 1 LSA, and so we've got a total of 4 LSAs in the entire topology, right? Nothing else going on. You can look at the show IP OSPF database summary, and it's going to show you the same thing. Router LSAs 4 on each one of them, and has no network LSAs, no externals, no ABRs. This is your ABR. This is your DR, BDR. This is your ASBR, and then type 7s. We're going to skip the opaque. Okay, let's exit. Multi-mode. multi-execution. So we've got 4. Now let's see how this changes when we introduce another area. Now to do this, this image that I'm using has got a bug, so I'm going to disable the OSPF completely and enable it again. So we'll do this. Let me go back for a second and then enable this guy first. So let's see how we can enable. Let's make this guy pop up. Right now it's 0, right? So let's change that. T interface. Let's change this interface 1.2 and 1.1.2 default. So we're gonna do remove this command basically. So now it's gonna get into BDR config election interface E11. We show run interface E11. No. So now when it comes up, you'll see that there's one more LSA that pops up. Still working through the election process. And that's why you should choose a point-to-point if there's only 2 routers on a segment like this. The default is this behavior right here. There you go. So now it's full and your neighbor 2 is the DR because it's got a higher router ID. Now let's look at the database. Show IP OSPF database. And now you have 4 and you got 1 network, which is the second LSA, right? So it wasn't there before, now it showed up. So you're increasing your LSA count if you keep it to default transit network type. So if you don't have to, then don't. It'll optimize your OSPF database. Okay, so we'll keep that there and then look at the OSPF database individually. And then we see that we have 4 routers, matches up with our topology, and we have 1 network, which is our LSA type 2 because of our network interface is DR-BDR multi-access. It's not point-to-point. Sounds good? Now let's change our topology to multi-area. Like this. To do that, I am going to have to disable OSPF and reconfigure it. Control C, config T, no router OSPF. It's all gone. Now good. Router OSPF 1 enabled on all of them. And let's go individually to enable this topology. Router 1, this link is area 0, and area 34. Interface E12, IP OSPF 1, area 0. Interface E11, IP OSPF 1, area 0. Let's go on to the 1.3. Interface 1, 3, IP OSPF 1, area 0. Go on to 3. Interface E12. Right here. IP OSPF 1, area 0. And then on router 3, since it's an ABR now, area border router, E14 is going to be 34. Area 34. Interface E13 on router 4, IP OSPF 1, area 34. So now we got a multi-OSPF topology, multi-area OSPF topology, and let's look at the database. Show IP OSPF database, and we've got 3 router LSAs from 4 Now we got 3 in area 0. We got 1 network, which is the DR, the link between 1 and 2. And we got 1 summary, which is this guy. ABR generates summary. So anything coming from other areas is going to be a summary. So that's what the summary LSA. So we got LSA1, LSA2, and LSA3 covered with this topology. And if you go to router 3, show IP OSPF database, you'll see 3 router, 1 network, and then another router. 1 summary, obviously, because this is the summary coming in. And then we got another router, 2 routers. So you got instead of 4 router LSAs, now you have 3 plus 2. 3 router LSAs from area 0 and 2 router LSAs from area 34. That gives you a router LSA of 5, even though you have 4 routers. Now that's because router 3 is generating a router LSA this way and another router LSA towards 34. So you increase the count by 1 LSA. So it's going to be each area is going to create that ABR to generate another router LSA. So that increases, each area increases the router LSAs. So that is, in a large network, needs to be considered. If you need areas for any useful purpose, don't create areas unnecessarily, because it's just going to create more LSAs, more work for the routers. So that's your router LSAs. Now let's go into summary is already there because we saw the summary coming in from, summary is basically just the inter-area route, which is this guy right here. Router 1, it's getting a network link, which is this guy, which is the DR, and the summary 34 is coming from this area. So that's basically your summary, and it's summary LSAs looks like this. Inter-area. Intra-area looks like this in a Cisco router, of course, and inter-area looks like this in a Cisco router. So that's your router LSA 1, 2, 3. And now let's look at the ASBR. An ASBR basically gets generated, which you would not see here. Database summary. So your ASBR, this one, gets generated when your router outside being an ABR generates an external LSA. So let's generate an external LSA on 4. Router OSPF 1, redistribute connected subnets. That's going to redistribute its loopback, basically going in as an external. And so now your router 1 will see that ASBR as count 1. Count 1. And how's your routing table looking like? Now it's got an external and a intra area and an inter area route. Okay, so that's your ASBR external coming from an area router into your OSPF domain. Now let's take a look at, so we got the ASBR, we got the external type 5. Type 5 is right here, right? And type 4 is basically the ABR address. Type 5 is your link. That's your advertising router 4. That's your type 4. Okay, so you got pretty much type 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right here. 1, 2, 2 is this guy, and then 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, now let's look at the last one, which is NSSA. So now the way NSSA works is that if you want to create this area to be, let's go to this area first. Show IP route. So if you want to get rid of inter area routes and make this route area smaller in routing table, which most of the branches is an example. Small branches doesn't need everything. All they need is a default route going out. So what we're going to do is make this guy first. We're going to make this guy stub, and then after that we're going to make this guy not so stub. And I'll show you how. So before we do that, we go show run partition router OSPF1. It's redistributing the connected, so let's get rid of that because we're going to put an NSSA, a stub and an NSSA here. Router OSPF1, no, redistribute, no, you got to do this twice, do show run part router OSPF. Now it's clean, so your external should disappear. Your external is gone. This guy is no longer an ASBR. We're going to make this guy a stub area. What does that mean? Do show IP route. Yeah, we're going to get rid of these inter-area routes. We don't need it. It's a small branch router. We don't need a lot of inter-area routes coming here. Okay. So to do that, we convert this into a stub by putting this link into a stub area. OSPF1 area 34 stub. We have to do the same on all area routers. Area 34 stub. Once we do that, we should get rid of the inter-area routes. And they're gone. They're not gone. They only got, so stub will get rid of the external. I apologize, take that back. So let's generate an external first. So we do a no area 34 stub. Hopefully that took care of it. Do show run part router OSPF1. Yep. Okay, let's make it a normal area again. Come on. Do show run part router OSPF1. That's good. Okay, so we're getting the summaries. So stub basically reduces the number of external LSA. So to do that, we're going to have to introduce an external LSA. So to do that, we're going to go to router 1, for example, router OSPF1, redistribute connected subnets. Basically, it's going to redistribute its loopback. And we probably, let's do that on 2 as well. So now when you go to router 4, what you're going to see external routes. There you go. So now you got inter-area routes and you got external routes. Now let's make it stub. What stub's going to do, it's going to get rid of the external routes. Area 34 stub. Area 34 stub. Okay, all right, show IP route. Externals should disappear. There you go. The external routes disappeared. You still have the inter-area routes, right? Your externals disappeared. The E routes, they disappeared. How do you reach them? You reach them by this quad 0 that it automatically generated. Okay. So now it's got a quad 0, do ping, trying to reach from here to this guy. Now we're not getting the route, but we can still reach it because we got a quad 0 generated by our ABR. Now let's say our small branch router has a lot of inter-area routes as well. How do we deal with that? We convert this area into no summary. Area 34, stub, no summary. So now that's going to make your external as well as your inter-area routes disappear. There you go. All you got is this. So that's your stub and your stub, totally stub. And now we're going to say, all right, we got the stub and totally stub configured on this guy, and it still can reach outside its domain and everything. But what if do show run part router OSPF 1, right? What if router 4 needs to advertise this guy as an external route? So redistribute connected subnets. Now router loopback 4 goes in as an external. Is currently in ASBR while having only one area, which is a stub area. Okay, so now what it's saying is that you've configured a stub and totally stub, so this area, this route's not gonna get in, and they should not show up on other routes. I'm looking for 444 and it's not showing up, right? How do I make 444, this route, show up in the routing domain? Can I see 444? No. To do that, that's what an NSSA is. You convert this guy now to NSSA no summary. If you don't say no summary, it'll still take externals. It'll still take inner area routes. So to match up the total stubby and do no summary, you say no NSSA no summary. That will keep the routing table here small as it is, and also advertise your loopback or your external routes. So let's change that now, because we are not seeing 444, right? We need to see that, because we redistributed it. Do show run part router OSPF 1. We redistributed the connected routes, which is this guy going in, so we need to populate this elsewhere. So we're going to convert this area 34 into NSSA no summary. Area 34 NSSA no summary. So now it's complaining that you already have stub area configured. Do show run do show run router, do show run partition router OSPF 1. Now we need to remove this first. So Cisco router, so we got to do this multiple times. No. Okay. Now it's back to normal, but we need to see what the normal thing is going to look like back again. It's going to get externals and intra-area route. So we need to get rid of that, and we still need to advertise this guy out. Show run partition router OSPF. So we're doing the redistribute connected, but we want to get rid of the routing externals and intra-area routes. So the way to do that is still configure it as stubby, but not so as stubby, right? Area 34, not so stubby, no summary. Do the same here. Area 34, NSSA, no summary. And now let's check its routing table. And bingo, we got the quad 0, but we also need to see the 444. There he is, 444. So that is how your NSSA works. That's the use case of NSSA. Again, now if you just want to say NSSA without the no summary, then this guy is going to get the inter-area routes instead of just the quad 0. But with NSSA, no summary is basically a totally stubby with the flexibility of getting an external route into your OSPF domain. Let's check out our show IP OSPF database summary, and this is how it looks like. Routers 3 and this guy, area 0, network 1 because of the DR election, summary is 1 because this guy is the only summary coming in. ASPR is not showing up because we have a stubby area configured. So all of that looks good. Let's look at the 3 database. We got 3 and 2, 5, even though we have 4 routers, same as before. We got no network from 334, but we got 1 network on area 0 because of the DR election. And then we have the summary coming into 34, which is from area 0, which is, this summary is your external quad 0 route coming in from area router 3 into 34. And then no ASPR because it's an NSSA. And once you remove the NSSA or stubby, you'll start seeing ASPR if you have redistribute connected or redistribute other routing protocols. You got, instead of that, you got an NS type 7 coming in. All right, so that all looks good. This is type 7 coming in into 4 and 3. I don't think 4 will show that. Show IP OSPF database summary. It does. So 7, 4, and 3 both routers in NSSA will show up, type 7s. The others will just not show that up. Okie doke. So that's how your 6 LSAs looks like in a simple topology. I hope this helps.